This game seemed too good to be true as a Lumines fan. In an industry that seems to be completely ruthless on encouraging the behaviour of growing more and more, with such little room to experiment and nurture anything with even a modicum of potential, it takes guts, it takes balls, it takes gumption to move on from a globally recognised IP collaboration, a critically acclaimed one at that, to decide to go back to that old project that, by comparison, not many people really care about. In this industry, who does that? And I had expectations. As a culmination of everything Enhance and Tetsuya Mizuguchi has done up to this point, Tetris Effect but Lumines sounded incredible in concept. But I think that Lumines' identity was so strongly rooted in groovy vibes and varied music that I never felt Tetris Effect really managed to replicate to the same level, despite taking so much from Lumines. Which is fine, but it made such an impact on the identity of Enhance that it made me fear what this follow-up would be like. Lumines isn't a franchise that comes around every so often from just anyone, right? So, I played. They still got it! Yes! Lumines Arise is the result of that advice of returning to those hobbies and projects you did when you were a kid because teenage you was onto something. This is not a subdued trance of introspection and self-exploration, but an outward burst of expression and declaration of oneself. I mean, I could go on about how wonderful this game is, but like, literally look at it. Look at it. Unless you don't know what you're really looking at. Lumines is a falling block puzzle game created by this guy who wasn't able to secure the Tetris license to further explore the concept of synesthesia in video games, with his previous endeavours in music-based games being Rez and Space Channel 5, games based around the connection between music, game, and you. At least for Rez, I've never really played Space Channel 5. On a wide grid, you drop 2x2 blocks made of one of two colours with the objective of making 2x2 blocks of the matching colour on the playing field. They get highlighted, and a timeline glides across the screen to eliminate them. More and more blocks per wipe creates higher scores, and progress the current level to move on to the next. The bop and music, block rotation sounds sync to music, the block formations feeding back a response upon creation, oh shit! The sound of the timeline wiping the blocks away, the music and the level developing and expanding the more blocks you clear, these are all hallmarks of what makes Lumines a game so unique and memorable and tactile, and evidence of the sensations this man wants to make you feel. And feel you do, developers, Enhance, put a strong emphasis on everything you do creating some sort of feedback, visual, auditory, or sensitive. This aspect of the game is really a lot to take in, yet it's so slickly presented that it becomes a mixture of being in complete awe and being fully immersed in the experience, where you barely noticed a lot of the smaller details the game puts all around you. Artistically, I think it's safe to say Enhance and Monstars are at the top of their game here. Previous games in this franchise toyed with the cute differences in how the blocks looked, how they were coloured, and what kind of backgrounds they complemented. Tetris Effect kinda got in on it as well, but they observed the fact that these two square types must oppose each other, and their artists and animators went all the way with it. Every stage presented here is humid in style, atmosphere, motion, and distinct identity. These blocks move and fall with appropriate tactility, and the blocks transforming as their purpose in the game changes with them. Depending on the stage, bigger formations of the blocks will turn into entirely new entities, and it's a visual treat. Some of the exterior backgrounds may interact with the playing field, whilst others will play out a story for you to navigate during your session. This construction level, there is so much going on here, but the way everything manages to just keep going and working consistently in this context is mechanically mesmerizing. Or whilst astronauts float in and out towards you once you free them during Astral Electronica. or the clubbing chameleons jamming out to heavy disco whilst pushing blocks between each other in aggression. There's so much variety to just chew on here, bordering on the verge of whiplash sometimes, but that's what I've always loved about this franchise. It never stays still, which extends to the more subtle parts of the presentation. The screen will jolt and shake and turn for all kinds of things. Creating bigger and bigger blocks will zoom in the playfield further in, like the game is increasingly impressed with your skill. It creates the impression that these aren't just moving backgrounds, but they're actual tangible entities that can interact and be affected by you. These are small but crucial aspects to how you even see the game as an experience, because you can turn all of this stuff off in the settings if it hurts your eyes, but at that point, like, hey Jimmy, give me Lumines with nothing! But what brings all of this together is Hidelic's score. I was kinda conflicted about it pre-release because although their work on Tetris Effect was a monumental aspect into that game's success, it didn't really speak to me for a Lumines game. It's more trancey, it's more headspace oriented from what I remember. It's not bad, but Lumines jumps around a lot despite being mostly in one genre. It's groovy, it's jumpy, it's heavy, all of which is not what I associate with Tetris Effect. However, this was going to be an original score. Every song would be an original creation, which means that whatever gets made will definitely be something at least worth listening to from Hidelic, and that no matter how old this game gets, it will never meet the fate of its predecessor in music licensing delistings, preserving it for the very, very far future. Soundtracks on Bandcamp first? That's what I like to see. This part of the game, I was happiest to be wrong about. Like completely dead wrong. This is still recognizably Hidelic in some instances, with trance-like qualities, strong build-ups and drops, but in other instances, it is frankly unbelievable how all of this comes together. Everything that the series has innovated in the genre with its music integration is here and amped up. More smartly placed sound effects for rotation and falling of the blocks integrates with player action and the experience closer than ever. You are half the song sometimes in this. Hidelic delivered on variety too, like hopefully I got that across a minute ago. Even some really out there ones, like the level where you need to make vegetables and fruits amongst the sounds of a developing kitchen with a string accompaniment, it's a lovely vibe to it. And then you're in the fucking Matrix. And then you're clubbing with the chameleons again, or you're headbanging with the train. You truly don't know what you're gonna get when you dive deeper in the game's journey mode. Like you see this level, the blocks are made of leaves. The sounds of rustling leaves, quite a humid, subdued setting. From all the sensations and stuff that this game has shown so far, the last thing I was expecting was UK hip-hop. It's kinda heat though. See, now this is incredible. Artistically and audibly combined, Lumines Arise is a kaleidoscopic game. This is a game best played with an OLED screen and a good set of headphones, with maybe a DualSense controller working properly with its haptics on. Like listen man, for how much this thing costs, right? I would be hesitant to buy a DualSense for any game on PC. This kind of money for funky triggers and fancy vibration is kind of poor value for money, but if there were one game I would heartily recommend buying a DualSense for on PC, Returnal. That game is almost transformed with the DualSense. Playing with anything else is frankly sourceless. It sounds so stupid, but the haptic feedback adds an extra layer of immersion that's just so intimate, so realistic. It's just Lumines Arise isn't really to that level. It does the same thing and serves the same function of adding an extra layer of immersion, but it's not to the level of discerning individual materials like sand or rock. But it pulses and it shakes, and it does it very subtly or very strongly. It just could be a little bit better. Now, while we're getting into something that merely resembles a criticism, a caveat of Arise's beauty is that it looks good. It looks too good, actually. There is a visual adjustment period that comes with every new stage to see what resembles what and to make it through the noise and the lights and the effects. Enhance has done an incredible, immaculate job with the art, but sometimes that art gets in the way enough to let the player create mistakes when under pressure, and probably when they're still learning how to play the game itself. Get out of the way! So far though, that's one of the only criticisms I have of Arise as a whole. In fact, I've been so fixated on how this game looks and sounds that I haven't even spoken much about how it is as a video game. One major difference is that in that game, one of the blocks in the rotation was called a shuffle block, and that's no longer in here, which is a shame. I like the shuffle block. Until I actually got good at Luminous. Thank God this is out of the rotation. In Electronic Symphony, this was basically a get out of jail free card if you were very tight on space. It would shuffle around the playing field and form a bunch of blocks and clean house. Since I've gotten used to setting up chains of similarly coloured blocks, having that completely ruined really sucks, so rest in piss. Unfortunately, it doesn't rectify the rest of the other abilities Electronic Symphony used to have been missing, like having all fully coloured blocks for 3 times, or keeping the block in the air suspended a little bit, or stopping the timeline to build a block freely. However, that last one was made redundant by the addition of No Stress Luminous, and the latter is now partially replaced with the new burst mechanic. This functions identical to Tetris Effect's zone mechanic, where after enough lines have been cleared and accumulated, you can stop time and you're given free reign to create the largest stack of lines your heart desires, with completed lines anywhere adding onto the stack at the bottom. This is cool, and is also satisfying. And it's quite cathartic when you're subjected to terminology for Tetris names thought not to have existed before. I didn't know what a decahexa Tetris was before this game, but now I do, and it's kind of fun knowing that there's an actual name for that. The burst mechanic in Luminous has the same basic concept of slowing down time and keeping your blocks suspended in the air, but the first colour of blocks that get formed will be resistant to being wiped out by the timeline. Instead, you're given a number of passes by the timeline to grow the block as big as you possibly can with similarly coloured blocks. Adjacently coloured blocks will be cleared out and sent to the top of the playing field, falling back in once it's all over, resulting in a massive nuclear crater in the playing field, pretty much. It takes a little bit to figure out how it works and where to best start your burst. It takes some actual decent strategy and forethinking. But once you do figure it out, the endorphin release is so good. It's an extremely potent ability that is a welcome addition to the franchise. Other than that, this is a rather standard Luminous offering in pure gameplay terms. We have the special block, that's quite useful, yes, when you can just change together some similarly coloured blocks. Very good for strategy, but nothing else though. It's a shame, because this game's other modes are mainly in multiplayer, and the abilities in Electronic Symphony did offer things and did do different things in single player and multiplayer, which was quite cool. It would have been a very strong reason to bring them back here, but the game itself is so solid, I don't really mind it too much that there aren't that many different variables to mess it up. The main mode is named similarly after Tetris Effect's Journey mode, and it's paced as such. Luminous has always been a pick up and play game that challenges you to go for as long as you can in one long, unbroken play session, but instead, Journey is split up into stages with 4 or more song stages within them. When you finish one section, it ranks you and prompts you to either return to the main menu or continue on to the next stage. And for reference, in previous games, this is how stages transitioned into each other. Control was never taken away from you. You were always, as soon as you hit play, in the zone, until you can't play anymore. However, with Arise's doubling down on spectacle and immersion and all that real good stuff, I'm actually kind of okay with this being the case. Arise doesn't present Luminous as an arcade-like game anymore. It wants you to see it to the end. It wants to show you everything is created in a structured, paced adventure. Having to repeat very elaborate stages you've already done, most likely while you're still learning the game, will probably get very annoying very fast. And that's also another thing. Arise is expecting it to be most people's introduction to the Luminous franchise, and it's only available right now on PC and PS5 right now, not on handheld devices. Enhance has been making it clear that it's accessible to veterans and newcomers and do want to encourage you to play and get better, whether on socials or in the game's brand new mission mode. So, I think cutting the marathon style as the main game mode for this type of approach was the right call here. and if you don't vibe with that generally, it's still present in the game just as survival. As for other modes in this game, it's not an empty offering. Single player wise, there is the missions mode, where you're given a long list of things to do that you'll encounter in the main game. These are essentially technique practices that show you how you can play Lumines more effectively and spot patterns in the blocks on the playing field and use them to your advantage. It's a neat addition that aims to onboard people, as Lumines isn't as easy or accessible to understand to the average person as something like Tetris is. There is a lot more going on. Habits that need to be developed, patterns that need to be understood, and something to onboard you to some of the more complex techniques you can take advantage of is always great. There's also a challenges section in the same menu, which at the time of writing, I haven't actually played, at least the script says that, but I have just finished playing them, and this is so much fun. There are so many different challenges that you need to do. For example, clear squares within this little egg in the bird level. Get the highest burst within the time limit. The 2x2 blocks become 3x3, which changes things up immensely. Just a lot of very different stuff like that. Tetromino looking or pentomino looking blocks, making squares with those. There's a lot of different things that range from easy to hard, and it's a very good way to add replayability to the game, I think. I had to go off script for that. So yeah, that is both of those things, mission and challenges, very good additions to the game. And I hope they keep adding more challenges, because that's shit so much fun. Moving into multiplayer, something I don't actually associate with this franchise too much, there is a good amount here, like there's an entire space here. It's actually kind of impressive. The main big mode here is called Burst Battle, a competitive head-to-head mode where you need to clear as many blocks as you can in order to drop garbage onto your other opponent and overwhelm them. Not an unseen mode in most other folding block puzzle games, but this is very fun here, adding an element of stress to Lumines that does make you play very differently. Though it's due to this that sometimes I adopt the fuck it we ball method strategy of just placing a ton of blocks anywhere very quickly and just kinda hoping for the best at that point. As you can imagine, if this is about the most blocks being cleared at once to overwhelm people, the burst mechanic can be overwhelmingly destructive if used right. It's fun stuff. There's also a time attack mode in this as well. Why do I need an internet connection to play this? There are different parameters for each type of time that you need to clear blocks. Beat high scores and it's tested on leaderboard, so I guess that makes sense. It's alright, but I think for time attack stuff, this is kind of it. Now, admittedly, I haven't really played much of the multiplayer side of Lumines Arise too much, so I'm going to go off script right now and say what I think of Dig Down. In this mode, the playing field goes up a little bit, so random blocks get added to the bottom, and as time progresses and the more blocks you clear, the faster it goes up, and you just need to survive for as long as you can. I think due to the random nature, this is a pretty good mode, but I think you should probably add some more things to this. Like as a mode to play over and over, it's pretty fun. Though again, I don't know why this is in multiplayer, because I kind of want this as my own separate mode. I know it's a survival mode, but I think there's a bit more places you can take this. But this is a very good mode for the game. There's also Quick Burst, which is, it's pretty simple. It's a daily challenge that challenges you to make the biggest burst you can, because these things can go pretty big. They can go up to like 300 if you're very, very good enough. However, that's kind of it. Just make the biggest burst you can. And then I guess try it on leaderboards. It's okay. It's pretty fun. Again, making the biggest burst you can, and you have infinite time to do it, which is good. But that's it though, so yeah. Now, elsewhere from multiplayer, you have a series standard playlist mode where you can make your own journey with the songs you want in any order you want. It's kind of what it sounds like. Each song placed in the list has a visualization of the speed and tempo of the song, which is a really nice addition, especially if you want to pace yourself for something specific. Now, when you play the game, in the bottom right corner you have this little fella in the corner vibing along with the game. It's called a Lumi. These characters represent players and can be customized to look how you want them to. You can get cosmetics for them for free by gacha, I guess. Now, this isn't a problem because since the way you get the currency is by playing the extra modes and going to multiplayer and exploring all the game has to offer, this is probably good stuff. I'm just not someone who really cares about self-presentation in a game like this. And is that it? Yeah, kinda. It's not swimming in content, but stuff that is here serves a very strong purpose overall. Presently, the multiplayer modes are unique spins on the game. It's a sumptuous offering, especially when it comes to the final mode the game offers. It's one that you can't really see here on the menu or anything, but it pushes Lumines Arise into its real, final form. See, I got a Quest 3 like 2 years ago. I only started getting into it recently, and I do want to make more videos on that. Anyways, what's really funny is that as a VR game, Lumines Arise is not really that impressive. There's no 6 degrees of freedom, you can't really move in to see the finer detail, you can't walk around, you don't have any hands or anything like that. There are mod conversions of non-VR games more impressive than this in terms of what you can do. It's just a game with the background expanded all around you. Yet, this is one of the best VR games I have ever played. The effort that Enhance went through for lighting, particle effects, audio, visual and auditory feedback makes it seem as if VR is the way to play Luminous Arise. Everything is just next level in this. It is as close as Enhance can get to immersing the player to extract maximum emotion. This experience, it's what the entire company is based around. Because they're not a video game company first. They're an experience AR company and a game company second. I'll be honest and say that whatever proper story they wanted to tell in this game from the journey mode kind of went over my head. I'm not good with artsy stories that don't tell you everything to you, but I felt it. Each and every act in this performance aims to get an emotion out of you, and when you're on the same wavelength, it's one of the most unforgettable games out there right now. Enhanced and Monstars have probably outdone themselves here, cementing Luminous Horizon as one of the best returns this industry should be talking about, one of the best games this industry should be talking about. But it's more than just a game, it's a kaleidoscopic experience, and I'm glad I got to experience it. It's genuinely worth it. Well, thank you very much for watching, and happy 2026 everyone. I don't have anything big in the works, just, same old will make something if it interests me enough. But it's been an alright year. I'm still just doing my own thing. Might do Unbeatable next. In general though, I'm thankful to those who managed to stick around. I like seeing familiar faces and stuff like that. And even if you're not in that demographic, thank you for watching. And for this year, enjoy yourselves guys.